Hi everyone, welcome to our fourth webinar in our Science Pathways series focused on computer science. My name is Zainab Majid and I'm the head of the logistics committee at the OXY Project. This event is a collaboration between the OXY Project, an organization focused on offering academic support to students and connecting youth with opportunities to help them excel in post-secondary and beyond, and the Major Workshop, a student-run organization dedicated to helping youth discover their passion and then decide on a major after high school. I'm pleased to welcome our speakers today, Shanna and Chloe. Shanna is in her fourth year studying computer science with a minor in data science at the University of Calgary. Chloe is an international student who's going to be a fifth-year student at the University of British Columbia, pursuing a combined degree in computer science and environmental science. With that, I'll hand it over to our speakers to introduce themselves further, beginning with Shanna.
Hi, thanks for the introduction there. I guess you already said this, but my name is Shanna Hollingworth, and I am just going into my fourth year of computer science at the U of C. I actually just took this year off for a co-op, which basically means that I got to work a 9-to-5 job in a computer science industry for the last 16 months. So I was working with Cisco doing some software testing, and that's coming to an end this month, and then I'll be going back to my last year, which I'm really excited for. Also started the Women in Computer Science at the University of Calgary, and that was a really, really good opportunity for me. So I'm really passionate about helping other people, especially women, find computer science as a very viable path to go into for their careers.
Awesome. And I'm Chloe. I'm from Austin, Texas originally, and I go to the University of British Columbia. I'm in my fifth year. I also did co-op like Shanna, and I also kind of helped start the Women in Computer Science Club at UBC. I'm entering my fourth year of working with them, and I've been on the executive leadership of the Varsity Outdoor Club at UBC as well, and did Science 1 in my first year, which is kind of like an honors science program that UBC offers. So yeah.
That's great to know. All of you have such diverse backgrounds.
Awesome. Thank you for the answers. Yeah. So our first question is going to be for Rory. So our first question is going to be for Shanna, and it's, how was your experience with getting involved with clubs like Women in Computer Science and the Computer Science Club, and how did you make time for them with your busy schedule?
So that's a really good question. I was mainly involved in the Women in Computer Science Club, as well as actually another club called the Chinese Conversation Club, which was a club designed to help people, or I guess speakers of all languages, come practice Chinese. The Women in Computer Science Club, as I said, I helped to found it last year. I guess that's how I got involved in it. But the thing with computer science is it does still tend to be very male dominated. And I remembered me and some friends would be looking around the room going like, it'd be really nice if we could find more of us and just connect with each other, you know? And it was just kind of an idea that we had for about a year. And I think I went on exchange to Singapore that year, so it didn't really play out. But when I got back, we decided this is something we should actually do. And that was like right in the middle of COVID too. So that actually made it the perfect time to start this club, because people were just struggling to find connection and to find just meet people. So I had to recruit a group of girls to help me do it and talk to some faculty members, and then we kind of went through all the steps to put this club together. And at this time, I wasn't president of the Chinese club, but I was doing all of their events for their weekly events. So that was really, really overwhelming, doing all of these things on top of having a busy course schedule. I think that something I learned that year was saying no sometimes is really important. As much as, you know, you want to take everything on, sometimes you can't, and sometimes you can ask for help, you know. Making a to-do list was also really, really helpful and important to me to manage things. where I'd literally, I mean, a lot of people have a planner and that works for them, but what I would do is just write out in my notes, okay, Monday I have this thing that I need to do and this and this and this. And then I'd actually plan out, like, I'm going to do half of this assignment on this day and half of this assignment on this day, and portion out everything that I had in my to-do list that way so that I knew that I could get everything done on time. So I think when you want to get involved to that degree, it is really important to keep yourself organized, but also to remember that it's okay if you can't do everything. You know, it's okay to ask for help. But yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you for the very insightful response. That was an amazing response. Our next question is for Chloe. How did you end up pursuing both environmental science and a computer science degree together?
When I first entered university, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And as a first year, I ended up just taking a whole bunch of science classes. I thought maybe I'd like biology or chemistry, but I was taking those classes, I kind of realized like maybe research or a degree in that isn't really for me. And at the same time, I was super like interested in environmental science because of, you know, the ongoing climate crisis and stuff like that. So I got drawn to environmental science because I felt like it's really important for more people to understand what's going on with our world and how we can help it. And I was drawn to computer science kind of for similar reasons. I was, you know, aware of the tech industry and how big it is, and you know, how many people are getting jobs there. And I thought that, you know, as time goes on, there's no way that these two industries won't have to like work together to, you know, form a solution to, you know, some of the major problems in our world. So yeah, that's kind of where I started. And then UC has a program within the CS department called, it's a major that's called like on the academic calendar, it's just like computer science combined with another science, which is super vague, but basically you work with advisors and the CS department and then the department of the science that you're interested in. And you kind of get to create your own personalized major with all of the classes you're interested in on both sides. And it just seemed like a really great opportunity for me to combine like both of the things I was super interested in. So yeah, I talked to a few different people and now I'm here.
Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know UBC had that option. So thank you.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah,
next question is for Shanna. Why did you decide to pursue computer science?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. To be honest, coming out of high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was so confused. Back then, I was actually really into art and performance, and I still am. I'm currently like pretty involved in theater, which, side note, if you can, through your university degree, pursue your side passions, whatever you go into. I would highly recommend it because you're going to enjoy your experience so much more. It took me 3 years to learn that, and I like my life a lot better than I did 3 years ago. So that's my side note. But yeah, I mean, at that time, like, obviously, I don't think my parents would have really approved if I just went into art. So I knew that I had to go into something, I guess, with better job opportunities. I also knew that I really like math, and I kind of experience, but my understanding of it was logical side where you have to problem solve, and that's something that's really important to me and really gratifying to me. But you also get to use a lot of creativity to solve those problems and to create things. To me, I really, really like the creating aspect of coding, because anything that you can think of, you can write a program for it. You just need to figure out how to do it. And that is, I just found it was a really good fit for me. And going into university, I had never touched any coding language in my life. I didn't know anything about it. And it's something that I kind of learned when I started, and I realized that I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, that's kind of how I got into comp sci.
Oh, that's really good to know, especially people who want to go into computer science in the future.
So the next question is for Chloe. So as Shanna mentioned, computer science is known to be mainly male dominated. What is the environment like at UBC, and what advice do you have for women is women who are interested in computer science?
So I was trying to like find exact statistics on like the UBCCS website to like what the gender split was, and the most recent data they had was from 2017, and I feel like that's no longer really applicable. So I don't have like an exact number. I would say there's probably more men than women in CS at UBC, but despite that, there's a ton of like wonderful people throughout the faculty, throughout the student body. There are a ton of really amazing female professors at UBC that really make you feel welcome and, you know, really try their best to make sure you feel like you belong, which I really love. At UBC, we have the Code Committee, which stands for, it's like the Committee on Diversity and Equity, which is mostly faculty run. And underneath Code, they have things called affinity groups. So that's what our Women in CS Club is under. And along with Women in CS, we have Queer Coded, which is for LGBTQ plus people. And just this year, they're starting a Women in Data Science Club as well. So there's a lot of opportunities throughout the faculty to, you know, find place within clubs or different committees to make sure your voice is heard. But outside of that, I would say it's just really important to find a community of people that you feel really welcome in and you feel really seen in, you know, whether that's people who look like you or just people who understand and are compassionate to your situation. Having that, you know, community to go to if you have had a bad experience, I find is really important because, like, unfortunately, you might experience some amount of sexism or racism in computer science. It's just, you know, that's the world, that's where we're at. But having people who understand that and who are going to support you through it and will help you find the resources you need to, you know, get past that is really important. And on a more networky side of things, there are a ton of resources through universities or companies and everything, different like foundations that offer internships, mentorships, scholarships, tons of resources specifically targeted to women and other underrepresented groups in CS. And, you know, if that's something that you fit into, like, these are programs designed for you and you should take full advantage of them if you can, because yeah, I sometimes feel like I shouldn't take advantage of them because I'm a white woman. I don't feel like, you know, someone else deserves this opportunity more than me. But if you do fit within an underrepresented group in CS, take advantage of the resources they provide you because they're there to help you and support you and further your career so that the environment can become more equal and more welcoming to everybody.
Yeah, it's wonderful to hear that there's so many opportunities for women and underrepresented people, and you just kind of need to, you know, go for it and try to get into those opportunities. So the next question is for Shanna. Would you say learning how to code before going into post-secondary helps with majoring in computer science? What are the things you recommend doing to better prepare yourself?
Yeah, I get this question a lot actually. I think it definitely does help. Number one, computer science is not for everybody. I love it. I've never met anyone who says they don't mind coding. Like, it's just something that they don't mind doing. You know, you either love it or you hate it. Mm-hmm. There's very rarely in between. So just right off the bat, I think that is a really, really good reason to start trying or just coding something before you go to university. I didn't, and I got lucky. But, you know, you don't want to waste your first year and then realize that you absolutely hate it. So just for that, I would say definitely try some coding before going in. As far as being behind, I can't speak for every university. For U of C, at least, I personally felt that they did a really, really good job of catching everyone up so that we were all kind of in the same place by the end of first year. And just explaining things, teaching things well enough for that, so that anyone who, if you were a beginner or if you are kind of later or like you have more experience with coding, you know, you're still going to succeed and you're still going to be challenged in the course. With that being said, I think it definitely would be a little easier for you if you do have some coding experience prior. And there are so many resources for that out there. like Coursera is a course that I really like going on. I did a web dev course for free on there a couple of years ago. And what you can actually do is find a course that you like and audit online. So Coursera, Udemy is another one, where you can literally just type in any topic on. It doesn't have to be computer science related. I think they have so many topics on there, but you click on a course that interests you and then don't pay for it, just audit. So you don't get any certification at the end, you don't get any homework graded or anything like that, but it kind of takes you through the course and it guides you kind of through some different programming exercises. YouTube's also a really, really great resource. But yeah, I'd say Python is a pretty good language to start out with as well. At U of C, it's the language that they start you out with in your first coding course. But I think that it's similar enough to English and it's pretty user-friendly that if you have no coding experience, it's probably one of the best languages to start out with. And you can do quite a bit with it. If you Google like 20 cool Python projects for beginners, there's so many cool things that you can do. So yeah, that's what I would recommend.
That's awesome to hear. Like, I'm not going into a computer science major, but I'm still trying to learn how to code. And there's so many online resources. And like you mentioned, I'm starting with Python, and there's like, I think I'm doing one on Free Code Camp, and it's like pretty helpful so far.
Yeah, and that's actually great. And I will say, like, whether or not you go into computer science, coding is such an important skill to have today. You know, I would recommend, even if you decide to take something completely different, take a coding class if you can, just one, or do it on your own time, because no matter what degree you end up in, being able to tell your employer, hey, I can code, that's going to give you bonus points. Like, it's a really, really good skill to have today.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for your really insightful answers. The next question is for Chloe. So what are your plans after graduating?
Yeah, that's a pretty big question. Currently, I'm super interested in like machine learning and data science and kind of that side of CS. So I'm kind of leaning towards maybe getting a master's degree of some sort to further my education. I'm really interested in sustainable agriculture. And there's a lot of ways that being able to manipulate large sets of data and predict different kinds of data could really help improve agriculture for different communities. So that's kind of what I'm looking towards right now, is finding ways to use data science and stuff to help improve the agricultural systems.
That's really interesting. Good luck with that. Shanna, I have the same question for you. What are your plans after you graduate?
I actually honestly have no idea. That is, as Chloe said, a very difficult question. So I am currently minoring in data science because I'm also kind of interested in machine learning. That's honestly something that I think I'm just going to figure out and try out more things. I did software testing this year and I kind of realized that I didn't like it that much. But I've done some work on VR and AI, and I found all of that really interesting. I'd like to explore that more. I'm doing a research project this year with a prof on, well, we haven't decided exactly what the project is yet, but right now we're leaning towards doing something around language learning through AR and kind of how they can aid each other. But I think that I'm just going to keep it kind of open. I don't think I'm going to go back to school. But, I want to explore more of what's out there. And, if I just have to find some well-paying job in the meantime until I kind of decide that what I really want to niche in the industry, that's probably what I'll do. That's kind of why I went into computer science, though, because I'm sure you can tell by why I chose this degree answer that I can be kind of all over the place with my interests, and I didn't want to tie myself down to one thing. Like if you go into nursing, you're a nurse. With computer science, there's so many things you can do. There's so many things that like you can go into with that, and you can change your plan halfway through your career. So I think I'm just gonna figure it out as I go.
That's really cool. I didn't know there was research for computer science as well. So that's
Yeah,
definitely
there's
an
so many
opportunity.
research opportunities.
Yeah.
And actually, I will say on that front, most profs are willing to take on undergrad. Well, I mean, I can't speak for every school, but at U of C at least, most profs are willing to take on an undergrad student for research. A lot of students are afraid to ask. I was, and I think I just kind of got lucky through the club that I met someone who knew someone who thought that I'd be a really great fit with this prof. But you know, if you are interested in research and you kind of have an idea that you might want to look into, you can reach out to a prof and kind of talk to them about it. And even if they're not the right fit or they don't have the time, they might even refer you to another one. So there's always research opportunities. You just got to be willing to ask for them.
That's a great answer.
Awesome. So the next question, Chloe. So how would you describe your workload in computer science and how do you manage your time?
Yeah, I mean, really the workload can be, sorry, my grandparents are talking. The workload can be whatever
Okay.
you'd like it to be, really. I've been super lucky that I'm taking like 9 to 12 credits per term. I've been doing it for about 2 years now, where the average is like 15 plus for a lot of people. I think for me, it's super important to take fewer classes because it lets me have a life outside of my school. You know, I get to be on the executive of different clubs, and I have had chances to work part-time as a TA or, you know, as for different parts of the university, and also spending time doing things that I love and spending time with people that I care about, you know. It can be really stressful trying to balance school and work and co-op and club obligations and personal time, especially in university. So I would really recommend, if you have the chance and you feel like you need it, you know, don't feel pressured to take a full workload, because it has made my time at UBC a lot more fun, and it has made my education a lot better too, because I can spend a lot more time learning about, you know, the classes that I'm taking and going deeper when I find that I'm interested with subjects. So yeah, that would be my spiel on not taking a full course load. Managing my time, I do find using a planner, making to-do lists. I think it's really important for me, especially, to schedule out blocks of time for different classes. So, you know, I'm going to spend this morning doing whatever project for one course, and that gives me like 4 hours that I know that I'm spending on one specific thing, instead of sitting there for like 2 hours trying to figure out what I want to spend my time doing and then rushing through it for the rest of the time I have. But yeah, I think it's, you know, you kind of get thrown into it in university with like all of the different classes you're taking. So trying to learn quickly how to manage your time is really important.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Time management is really important, I think, in any degree, but especially computer science. And the next question is for, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I want to second basically everything that she said about not taking a full course load if you can, and time management. All very accurate.
And the next question is for Shanna. Can you describe the learning environment at U of C? What are the professors like? Do you have to teach yourself some of the content sometimes?
Yeah, so that's the thing with university, definitely get used to teaching yourself. That's not to say that there aren't good profs, because there are some really, really good profs out there who really care. Most profs want you to succeed, you know? So as long as you're putting in the work, as much as you can, start assignments early. Do not leave them to the last minute, because especially with computer science, you know, if you're working on code, you're not done until it's done. You know, it's not like you wrote an essay and you're gonna kind of half do it, or like half fill out your math assignment and get half points. A lot of the time, if it doesn't work, you just don't get marks for it. So you might just be sitting there for hours until it works. And that makes computer science sound really brutal, and I promise it's not that bad. But the point is to start early so that you know that you have time to work out any bugs that you need to fix. but be willing to ask for help if the profs are intimidating or if you don't like their teaching style. Usually you have a TA that you can go to. Don't be afraid to go to office hours, but make sure that you've tried your best to understand the problem before you go to office hours so that you can ask better questions. You know, and there are some profs who, unfortunately, they're tenured or they want to do research and they're forced into teaching and they don't necessarily want to be there. And I think you're going to find that with any school. That's always something that's going to happen. If you can find an older student to kind of tell you what profs to avoid, that's always a good thing. But, you know, sometimes it is what it is. And at the end of the day, you just got to put in as much work as you can, start your assignments early and just try your best. And I mean, if you don't do well, don't be too hard on yourself about it because it is a really, really hard major. So.
Yeah, that's great advice because I know sometimes professors can be a problem.
Yeah.
So we'll keep that in mind. I have the same question for Chloe because it might be a little bit different at UBC.
Yeah, I have found that in the CS department, especially the 100 and 200 level, like core courses that you have to take, the professors are really there to teach, which is really amazing because it means they really, really care about like you learning, you know, the class content. And, you know, they want you to come to office hours. Professors are constantly begging students to come to their office hours. So like you can't be, you know, it's okay to be scared to ask a question, but you shouldn't let that stop you from like trying. And yeah, there's a lot of courses at UBC that are difficult, but if the professors don't feel like they want you to succeed, the TAs definitely care. And if the TAs don't feel like they care, you know, the other students in the class do care. It's really about, you know, finding a support system in your courses to help you through it because the content is really difficult. And a lot of times you will struggle and you may not understand what's going on. But, you know, that's okay because there's 100% at least one other person in your class that feels the same way or even worse about the content. So I would just say, like, you know, as hard a time as you're having, if you are really struggling, there are other people there who are struggling, and there are other people who are there who care about you and like want to help you through it, whether it's academically or outside of academics. You know, it's just important to like surround yourself with good people, and there are a lot of good people at UBC to surround yourself with.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear because I know like a lot of people are shy, and especially entering university, of asking profs questions because everything's so big, and it's nice to hear that there's like a support system and they're actually willing to help you out. So the next question is for Shanna. I know you kind of already discussed this, but like what sorts of jobs are available for you after you finish your degree?
Yeah, so like I said before, there are so many things available. The thing with coding and with this industry is that any other industry that you can think of needs a coder, right? They need someone to build their website, or they need someone to build their app, or they need someone to do their back end, or they need, you know, someone to, I mean, they might be a tech company and maybe they're literally making cybersecurity programs, right? So, you know, you can go into web design, you can go into front end, which is kind of like app development, web design, like stuff that is more front facing. Back end, there's so many, I'm trying to think of more, you know, like if you want to do something more data sciencey, you can kind of use your computer science degree for that too. Machine learning, AI, research, I could continue listing them, but yeah, there's a lot. So you're not losing out on anything for job prospects if you're wanting to go into computer science.
That's great to hear because I know it's a really hard major. So job security and all of that is really important.
It's hard, but once you get through it, it's worth it if you like it.
Okay, that's good to know. And the last question we have for both of you, starting with Chloe, is what advice would you give to high school students who want to major in computer science?
I think my main advice would be just do it. It can feel really scary to go into computer science, especially because I feel like there's this big reputation of everyone in computer science already knows a million different coding languages, and they've done so many hackathons and personal projects and whatever. But really, that's not the case. And if it's what you care about and it's something you want to do, then you should just go for it, because you will figure out your way through. More specifically, I would say do hackathons and do personal projects. That's the way to expose yourself to the industry, and that helps you, find job prospects and find friends in the major and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'd say just go for it. If you're scared or you don't know what you want to do, there are clubs. There's a Women in CS club at UBC, at U of C. I know U of T has one as well. You can reach out to these clubs, and every time we get an email that's hey, I'm scared about going into CS because of whatever reason, those are people I love to talk to, and I love to talk through why they want to go into CS or why they might not want to. So find a mentor in the program if you can, or talk to an advisor or talk to a professor, because really everyone just wants you to succeed at the end of the day. People are there to learn, and they want you to learn as well. So if it's something you're interested in or you think you might be interested in, don't be scared to reach out to other people with questions you may have, because they'll definitely be happy to answer.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. Thank you. And we have the same question for Shanna.
Yeah, that was all really, really good advice. But yeah, similar, I guess, from my end. Find a support system when you go in. Find some friends or join a club. Joining a club is one of the best things that you can do when you go into university. And, even if it's not computer science related, join a computer science related club to find a support system. But join other clubs too. That's where you're going to make most of your friends, and it's really great. But yeah, I guess just touching on things that we've discussed throughout this whole interview. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be scared when you don't know the answer, because that's just how it is sometimes. Even when you've been doing it for 5 years, you're not always going to know the answer. So you just need to get used to being okay with that and not panicking and asking for help if you need it, searching things up. And just have fun. If you're not enjoying what you do, why are you doing it?
Yeah, that was amazing advice. Thank you. So that brings us to our webinar. On behalf of the Major Workshop and Oxy Project, I'd like to thank you guys for taking time out of your busy schedule to answer our questions. Your responses were very insightful and informative, and I'm sure the audience will benefit greatly from them. To the audience, thanks for watching and sending in your questions. Follow our Instagrams to get the latest updates on our Science Pathways webinar series. Have a wonderful rest of your day.